were several questions that have arisen out of the story that was told on Tuesday. They are, firstly, what is it that has been there in our life all along that has not allowed us to be seduced, not allowed us for any length of time to get caught in being something, this or that. And the second question is, where are we when everything is the same, but nothing is the same? The smell of a rose is still the smell of a rose. The sight of the grass waving is still the grass waving. The sound of the birds, the wind in the trees. And yet we realize that nothing is the same as it was. And there is no question that we cannot go back to the way it was. So in order to explore and have the possibility of answering these questions, there are several anecdotes, Sufi anecdotes. And the first is about the dervish who'd been traveling all his life, seeking and questing for knowledge, understanding. But over those many years, it seemed that his face had been blackened. And one day he found himself at a coffee shop in some place or other, and sitting at the table with him was a merchant. And as is the way with strangers, the merchant asked him and inquired of him who was he and what was he about. But from the answers of the dervish, the merchant said, well, it seems to me that you're a nobody and you haven't got any purpose. Could it be that you are a slave looking for a master? And the dervish replied, well, you could say that I have been looking for a master all of my life. So the merchant said to him, well, you can be my slave, and I'll be your master. And so this the dervish did. He became the slave to the merchant. And in the years that followed, he obeyed everything that the merchant asked of him. He traveled everywhere that the merchant took him. But after some many years, the merchant said to him, now it is time for you to leave. You are no longer my slave. You are free. Now the dervish in no way regretted the many years that he had spent with the merchant, because in those years he had refined obedience, not questioning anything or anyone. And this dervish became a great teacher a teacher of some of the most illustrious Sufis that are known today. The second anecdote, also a Sufi anecdote, is that there are three kinds of knowledge. The first is intellectual knowledge, the knowledge that's gained by reading, experiences, and the like. And of course, this knowledge is sought after by the scholars and the scientists and the like. The second kind of knowledge is the knowledge of states, or what we might term esoteric knowledge, mystical knowledge, the knowledge attained by meditations, explorations of the states of samadhi, and so forth. And of course, these are sought after by the emotionalists who love to explore the dimensionality. And of course, we can perhaps glean what the third kind of knowledge is that transcends both intellectual knowledge, emotional knowledge, or esoteric and mystical knowledge. That we've tasted, not gleaned gradually, but tasted. So when we look at these ingredients that are placed in our cauldron to begin to explore, what is it? What was it that did not let us rest? But there's also something to be said about this first story. In Sufi terms, it is said that the last stage, the last part, segment of our journey is the stage of Khidmat. Now, Khidmat in Sufi terms means service. Not service to an ego, not service to life, but servants to what the Sufis call the beloved, the friend, God. Perhaps that in this story is represented by the merchant, the phase when we learn total obedience, not questioning, just pure service. But how does that throw light on this place? Recognizing that in this place our sensibilities are the same. Our smell, our taste, our hearing, our seeing, and yet it's different. What is this difference, we might ask ourselves? What is this place? Because maybe all of those things that we've been are still there. We're still a mother, a father, a lover, a companion, a teacher. And yet, we've not been seduced to making that our identity. If someone asks us, who are we don't point to ourselves and say, I'm this or that. A carer, a lover, a teacher. So we know. We know that we know. So in that sense, we know what's real. So these anecdotes that we put in our pot, so to speak, perhaps will give us an opportunity to know that we know, to claim permanency in impermanency, movement in the stillness of this place. We're still doing what we did before, seeing as we did before, hearing, but not the same. Where are we? What is this place? And what is it in us that knows that our merchant, our phase of Khidmat, service, is done, finished. We're no longer a slave to any facet of life. And yet, still doing, still a teacher, still a mother, still a companion. What is this place? But to answer this question, it seems that we also must acknowledge what it was that has been there from the beginning, that did not allow us to be seduced. Perhaps the beginning of a new phase of exploration and inquiry. But certainly it begins a process in us that allows that cauldron, that alchemical vehicle to bubble. And perhaps this gives us a gleaning of what it is that we do. Everyone, every single mote has the energy of fire. What do we do without doing? Perhaps some more stories will lead us on. Thank you.